Well, I look like I'm live. Let's see. Yep, brilliant. So, hi guys, if there is anyone in the chat, if you join later on, that's perfectly fine. As always, I'm Al, this is a Geek in Review, and I just want to talk about Foundation Season 2, some things that have been going on, and some thoughts and feelings that I have. So it's been a bit of a mixed bag of backstory, mystery, and setup this season. We Harry, Gaal, and Salvor all stuck on Ignus, at least for the time being, and a lot of characters like Polly, Constance, the clones, Hobart, and Belle all getting together a lot sooner than expected, and we've got the Mule as well. Even I didn't expect the Harry Seldon Pass stuff to pop up. In fact, I thought we were kind of done with that. Although, for the first episode, I remember saying that we probably would get more, and his episode was kind of similar to the backstory that we got on Gaal in season 1. But yeah, I really didn't expect that level of detail or sort of one of the motivations for Harry's work in psychohistory being revenge on the Empire. But if there is anyone in the chat, can you let me know? Can you hear me alright? Also, we've got 3 Harrys now when you think about it. We've got the Vault one, the sort of alive one, I mean, it looks as if he's dead, the one that's on Ignus, and then the one that's in Constance's head as well. So I'm just wondering, are there going to be more live action or, I suppose, different versions of Harry or his consciousness? Because as far as I remember, I might be wrong about this, he does only appear as holograms in the book, or the books, I should say. In 3 Harrys at the moment, I don't know, it seems a little bit excessive, I suppose, and also leads the way to the fact that they could put up as many Harrys as they want. But anyway, let's get into the stream then and talk about some characters this season. And I want to start with Gaal or Gaal, or however you pronounce it. I say Gaal all the time in my streams, or my videos I should say, because that's the way I read it when I read the books when I was younger. I know they say Gaal in the show, sort of, but yeah, people mention that in the comments, and that's the reason why I pronounce it slightly differently. But yeah, we heard this season, I mean, outside of the visions, they haven't really done much with her. I suppose the big question at the moment is she going to lead the Metallics? Or is she going to lead the Metallics after she finds out what's happened to Salvor and Harry? Because I'm not entirely sure that both of them are dead. Harry maybe, but Salvor, I don't know. I mean, they could kind of do the Game of Thrones route, I guess, and just kill off characters and make it that dark and gritty way. But they didn't really do that in season 1, other than when Demerzel killed one of the clones, and that was right at the end of the season. And I think that her hand was kind of forced on that. But also, if she doesn't decide to become the leader of the telepaths, I'm just going to say telepaths because I keep saying mentats instead of metallics, and that's a whole June thing that I'm going to probably get into at some point as well. But if she decides to leave them or reject them in their eyes, how are they going to feel about that? It's the whole thing I keep mentioning is their interaction with them gonna cause the Mule or not? Oh, Ruben's in the chat. Ruben, can you let me know? Can you hear me? Just want to know if this is working fine. It says it is on my end, but I guess we're going to find out. Because bringing in the Mule so quickly, like, the more I think about it, I don't know, I think that the Mule is one of the people on the planet already, and there is a sort of theory or debate online about how would he still be alive 150 years later, but how is Polly still alive? They've not really cleared that one up either. In fact, no, I don't think they've even mentioned it, because Polly was like, what, how old was that kid in season 1? Maybe 10 or 12, something like that. And I'm just curious as to, is the mule there or not? And if he is, again, is this going back to, are they going to create the thing that they're trying to stop or trying to avoid? Because maybe that's how he knew what she was up to or what she was thinking in the future. Maybe he wasn't reading her mind. Maybe she had told him already, because there was that scene in episode 7 where she's telling them all about the Foundation and all about her visions and all about the Mule, so you've kind of got to wonder. Hey, I can see a few people in the chat, so thanks guys for letting me know if that's working. I'm glad I'm coming through alright. If you missed the start of the chat, I'm just going to go over some character points. I'm not going to cover every character for the second season or even the last few episodes. But if there's anything that you want to talk about, mention it in the comments and let me know, and the super chats are open if you want it highlighted as well. But yeah, I don't know, what do you guys think? Is the Mule on the planet already? Or, you know, maybe is he going to be born there later on and he hears about the stories of himself and that makes sort of him come into being? I'm kind of curious as to that one. So Juan, yeah, are you talking about Polly? Why don't people live more time in the future? They've not really established how long the human lifespan is. I mean, see, who's the oldest person that we've seen? Probably the oldest person that we've seen was the original Cleon or Brother Dusk. Or two different people, but the same people essentially. But yeah, they don't say that, you know, this person is 30 years old or 50 years old. No, that was your fan fiction, Ruben. The universe didn't implode. But yeah, I wish they would kind of sort that out or let us know how long a human lifespan is. Because with Polly, he's definitely had to have had his life extended or suspended in some way. Because otherwise, why wouldn't any of the other kids that were on Terminus at the end of season 1 still be alive? So it's kind of one thing that I hope that they're saving. But I don't get why they would save that explanation unless it means something with regards to Polly. But I like Polly. I think he's a really interesting character, and it was not shocking, but certainly surprising to carry that kid over. But going back to Gaal or Gaal or whatever you want to call her, with the whole tell him thing in the visions, I'm just wondering, you know, we've seen, what was it, in episodes 2 or 3, that she could sort of not create, I suppose, but channel the visions. So has she done that since off screen and we've just not seen it? I kind of wonder about that as well, because if she's got any questions about Tellum and all the telepaths on the planet, why wouldn't she do it? And then I suppose to swing in the other way, you've got to realise that if she did do it, the telepaths might be able to read her mind and find out as well. So Chris 2 is saying Polly travels in space, his age would be slow, just spending years in space versus on a planet. Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, if he has been put in suspended animation because he was maybe out travelling between worlds before the Foundation had their own jump drives or the Whisper ship, that would make sense, you know. Yeah, thinking about it, that probably does make sense that, excuse me, the reason for his age is the Foundation didn't have jump tech even straight away. It's something that they've had to develop over time. So if he was sent out as a missionary, it would make sense to freeze him, because I think they said, how long was it from Trantor to Terminus? I think they said it was going to be 4 years or 7 years or something like that in the first 2 episodes of season 1. But yeah, I'm going to talk about Polly a bit later on. Let's see what else is going on in the chat here. So Juan, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, says the Cleonic lifespan is 90 years. What's interesting about the Cleonic lifespan, especially Brother Dusk, is he's never as old, or he never gets to be as old as the original Cleon that started the dynasty. And that's one thing that's kind of been sticking in my head, especially in the last few, was it the second last episode where him and Dawn went to sort of do that chat with the whole interactive Cleon, like the one that can answer all your questions or all the common questions, is why is Dusk never allowed to get as old as that guy? Because he looks, if say Dusk is 80 or 80, 85, then that Cleon looks as if he's got about 10 years on him at least. But I'm going to get to that, don't worry about it. But going back to Tellum and Gaal, because I think they're spending a little bit too much time with the telepaths on Ignus, and their whole point was to go there to start building the second foundation, and you know the plan's already 130, 140 years behind its time frame. So I don't get why they're not speeding that up in terms of the storytelling. I get how important the men, I'm just going to call them telepaths, how important the telepaths are going to be going forward, but surely they're going to need other stuff. I mean, if you've read the books, and if you haven't, I'm not going to spoil it too much, but Hober Mallow plays a kind of big role that we've not really seen been set up yet. I mean, we've only sort of seen when Polly and Constant found him, and then him on Terminus, and then him going off on that mission to the Spacers. But yeah, I wonder why they're spending so much time with regards to Tellum and her people and this whole division where is Gaal going to take over, or is she going to go back to sort of Harry's way of thinking? Because it wasn't really, because it's not really the head-to-head between Gaal and Harry in Season 2 that I was expecting. That whole episode in the first season, I think it's the one that ends where she says she can feel the future, where that whole episode, or most of that episode, was a discussion between her and one of the holographic Harrys. I thought if they did bring him back, that would be a great way or a great point for the relationship to develop, and they kind of done it, but they didn't lean into it as much as I thought they would. But no, Chris, I'm not going to spoil anything about the books, because I don't think there's any point doing it. Because the way that the season's set up now, they're doing the whole thing that Marvel are doing, I think, and just taking threads of the story and adapting them rather than doing a direct adaptation, which I think works, because why would you do a direct adaptation? No one's going to pay to watch or sit down and view a TV show or a movie that's page for page or scene for scene exactly what's in the book or the comic or whatever. Chris is asking, how does the Hobor story compare to the books? They've not really done much with them, and I think if Season 3 has a time jump, they'll probably focus more on him, and it might be another actor that plays him if he ages up, because I expected him to be a little bit older than he is. I don't think they've given his age in the show, but the guy doesn't look any older than his mid-30s, and I was expecting, when Hobor showed up on the TV show, I was expecting him to be about 40 to maybe mid-50s, something like that. Ryan, yeah, I do think Harry's alive. I'm going to get to that, but is Harry ever dead? I mean, there's 3 versions of Harry now, you know? It's one thing that's kind of bothered me is it just going to be endless copies of Harry that we're going to get? But can I ask a question? Out of Harry and Tellum, not who's right and who's wrong, but I would suppose who's better and who's worse, because they both want Gaal to further their own ends and continue their plan. And I can see why she's divided, but her abilities and Salvor's abilities are radically different to everyone else on the planet that we know of. It doesn't seem that either of those two can read minds, and obviously no one else on the planet can see the future or feel the past. So, yeah, I'm just wondering how they're fitting in there. If she is going to stay, she's still going to be an outsider. Because in episode 7, they definitely reinforced the fact that Salvor's the outsider on the planet. And I know that's a comparison to how she felt on Terminus in Season 1, but I don't know, I think Salvor's a little underused and undercooked this season. But yeah, out of Tellum and Harry, who do you think she should choose, and I suppose why? But before I jump on to the next one, let's see. I'll just have a look at the chat, find out what's going on. So we've got a few people in. Ryan, Chris, Juan, Ruben if he's still there, CK Not. Fantastic. Thanks for showing up, guys, first of all. So Ryan thinks the leader is controlling them all, so I assume you mean tell him. And yeah, I think it's probably a good point, and I think I mentioned it in not this week's review, maybe the week before, that how can you trust what you're seeing and hearing and feeling if you're on a planet of telepaths that can manipulate it? Manipulate your perception, I should say. And they've not went too heavily into that, but I do wonder, going back to what I was saying a moment ago, that if Salvor or Gaal gains the same ability as Telem or people, they'll then be able to manipulate what people see, hear and feel. And if Salvor's not dead, I think that's how they've gotten round that, because I don't know, I was going to save this for a video, but I may as well say it, that I think Salvor's probably alive, and what we have seen in the last episode is a projection either by Salvor onto Telem or from Gaal onto Telem, because I don't know, I've just got a feeling that they won't kill her off, because they've not done enough with her this season, and they've not really done enough to explore the whole mother-daughter thing. They kind of done it in the first episode, and then they mentioned it later on that, you know, she didn't even, Gaal didn't even know when Salvor's birthday was, but yeah, I kind of wish they'd lean into that a little bit more about, is there a bond between these two, or is it just a case of the shared DNA and that's it? But what do you think? Is Salvor still alive? If you think she's still alive, just type Y in the chat, and if you think she's dead, just type no, and then I'll add it up. But I really like the actress that plays Telem. I can't remember her full name, it's Rachel something, but she's in pretty much every Taika Waititi film, like Eagle vs. Shark, Thor Ragnarok. I don't think she was in the last Thor, and I don't think she was in Jojo Rabbit, but she's usually a comedy actress, so I was kind of shocked to see her pop up in this show. But I like what they're doing, I just don't like the amount of time that they're spending on them. So Ryan says, I think Harry and Salvor are both alive. Do you mean Harry that's on the planet, or just Harry in general? But yeah, I think Salvor's alive, definitely. But the next character I want to talk about, I've kind of spoke about him a bit already, is Polly. Because, yeah, you didn't expect that kid that just appeared in a few scenes in the first season and only had a couple of lines was going to play such an important role 140 years down the line. And he's the only one, as far as we know, from season 1, from that big event, you know, when Harry came out of the vault initially, who's still alive. And yeah, it bothers me, they need to explain how he's still alive, what he's been up to, all of that stuff. But I do like that he was the sort of, it was in this episode, I think the most recent one, 7, where he was explaining the difference between him and Constant, that his faith was kind of created by seeing Harry, but hers is just sort of more on belief. John saying hi. Hi there, John. Another one joining the chat. More than welcome. But Polly and Constant are, I'll talk about Constant in a bit, but they're two characters that when they first showed up and they were doing all that sort of religious hocus pocus, I thought, I'm really not going to like this if they keep doing this. And I like that they got that out the way, and we've not really seen it since. They've not really went too deeply into the whole galactic church thing and how it's viewed, because when they went back to Terminus a couple of times, you could tell that not just them, well, I suppose only them, because we've not really seen any other characters that are part of the church as far as we know. It doesn't really seem to be viewed in a very high regard, which I think is odd, because they're the ones that are spreading the word about the Foundation and Harry's work in psychohistory and kind of doing that. I mean, I think even Polly said at one point, doing the hard sell to people. Yeah, Ryan, you're right. I think there could be infinite Harrys. But I hope there won't be. I hope they'll just stick to a few. But one thing I want to talk about Polly is, if has everyone here seen episode 7 first of all? I'll give you a second to reply. And then I'll go over some bits in the chat. But in episode 7, with the whole thing about the other Harry reappearing on Trantor, I wonder how Polly's going to feel about that, the fact that Constant was chosen for that and not him. I think that's very interesting about... I don't think he'd be jealous of her, but I think after, 100 plus years and maybe him being one of the first missionaries out there, he's probably going to be a little bit pissed. But then at the same time, why would you rely on a guy... Excuse me. Why would you rely on a guy that clearly has issues, not with his faith, but with addiction and stuff like that? So I get why she was chosen, but I just wonder, is he going to be a little bit upset, or is he going to treat Constant differently? Because, if you've been given over 100 years of your life to something, and then your sort of underling or junior or apprentice or whatever you want to call Constant was picked instead of you, you're not going to be that happy. But let's have a quick look at the chat. So Chris says, Polly knows that Constant is more of a believer with needing to see. I don't think he'll be mad. I think it's 50-50. We'll have to wait and see. We didn't get a lot of them on Trantor. I just wonder how they're going to get off Trantor as well. Because we've only got a few episodes left and I cannot see the Cleons letting them go. So, yeah, do you think that they're going to get off? There's a few things about Constant that I want to talk about, and not just her faith. She's actually turned out to be one of my favourite characters of the show this season. Where are we with Constant? Right, there we go. So yeah, when Constant first appeared, I was just like, oh, she's just gonna... I wasn't sure how they were gonna do the Galactic Church. I thought they were gonna sell it, or at least present it to the audience as a really sort of hardcore religion. I'll just pick a random religion, say Scientology, because I'm not going to offend anyone, I don't think, by saying Scientology. Unless there are any Scientologists in the chat. And if there are, why? That's not my thing, definitely, but each to their own. But yeah, I thought I was going to hate her, and it wasn't until the last few episodes, it wasn't until they got back to... I always get Terminus and Trantor mixed up. Terminus with Hober Mallow, and they got into the vault. That was like, I really like this character. I really like what they're doing with her. And then the whole bit about when she came out of the jump orbiting Trantor, and she was talking about how she knows all this has to fall, but she's never seen it before, so she can't imagine something so big getting destroyed. I thought that was a really good and really interesting perspective. But there's definitely more going on under the surface with her. I mean, you've got to remember as well that her dad is the director of the Foundation, so going back to what I was saying about how are they going to get off the planet and escape the Cleons, is we don't know enough about the relationship between her and her dad, but I don't think he'd be too happy when he finds out. We know Bel Rios is on his way, so is, Day or Bel gonna let the Foundation or Constant's dad know that they have her and use her as a hostage, I suppose is what I'm trying to say. I mean, definitely Brother Day, or at least this version of Day from what we've seen, has a bit more of an ego, or a bit more of a fragile ego than the previous ones. So yeah, I can see him doing that. And Bel is such a logical, forward-thinking sort of... I know he's a general, but I'm just going to call him a soldier, that using her as leverage would be something that I think Bel would consider as well. And if Day told Bel to do it, I don't think he'd have that much of a problem with it. Unless, they take them back in a ship, or they jump them to a ship and just sort of hold her directly hostage with a gun to her head when they're orbiting the planet, or they might land on the planet like they've done with the face-off between the Anacreans and the Thespins in the first season. But yeah, what do you guys think about Constant? Do you like her? Did you like her? just going to have a quick look at the chat. Oh. So let's see, got a few new people in. Susanna, hey, you managed to make it. I sent you a message letting you know. Glad to see you here. And you said you were in New York, or on the East Coast at least, is that correct? Let's see what else we've got. So I'll do a few questions when I move on to the next character that I want to talk about. So where was I? Right, Ryan's one. Yep. So John says, I think the Prime Radiant is inside Harry nanites. Which version of Harry do you mean? Do you mean the live one? I suppose you've got to mean the live one, because the one that's on Terminus, they've kind of said that that's a projection, but then they've got into the whole quantum mechanics disposition that it can exist in two places at once. So I think there could be an infinite amount of Prime Radiants if there wanted them to be. I don't think there's... I'm not going to say a Prime... I'm going to say a Prime Radiant. So yeah, I don't think there's a Prime Radiant. I think there's... As long as one version exists and many versions could exist, I suppose that's what I'm trying to say there. Let's see what else we've got here going on in the chat. So CK Not says Prime Radiant could still be in Becca. There was one scene when Salvor was sitting and talking to Gaal. There was an unfolded prototype lookalike of the Prime Radiant nearby. Which episode was that in? Was that in the most recent one? I do think Becky might be linked to the jump drive as well. Like, if you notice, Hobor made sure that Becky was back on board the ship before he left, and she did react before the Spacer Hive ship showed up. I can't remember if I've actually put that in my notes for my next 3D video, but it's something that a few people have been saying online. Because I think something to do, they've not explained it too much, but I think something to do with the jump drive is clearly linked to consciousness, and we don't know how the Foundation are bypassing that with the Whisper ships, at least yet. Well, let's see what else we've got in the chat. So Ryan says, I didn't like a lot of the new people, but now I really like them. Yeah, I feel the same. They've not introduced too many new characters, you know. Constant. Well, I'm not going to count Polly because technically he's not a new character, it's just a different actor. But Constant, Sareth, and Belle, and Belle's husband, whose name I can never remember. I like all of them. I think they're not using Belle Rios as much as I'd like, but I suppose if they're going to carry him over onto the next season, that's absolutely fine. But I was kind of shocked at how quickly that they managed to get Belle out of prison, and then he's sort of back to being a general kind of thing. Because I thought they were going to keep his husband on Trantor rather than just send him off, because I didn't really get the point of the leverage that, oh, we've got your husband, and it's like, well, you've not got him, you've just let him go away in a ship that he can jump anywhere to, I suppose. CC Not says episode 6 for the Prime Radiant thing, right, okay. And I keep saying CC Not, CK Not also says they might be held hostage with Cleon when they're confronting with Terminus in the next episode. Potentially get decapitated. I hope they don't decapitate Constant. I really like her. I think that actress was in Harry Potter as well. I've seen a few people post online. She was in Harry Potter with, I think it was the last two, the Deathly Hallows ones, with the guy that played Raish, I think. I'm not going to bother looking that up because I'm not a Harry Potter fan. But let's see. Right, I'll talk about Belle later on. One character that I really want to get to and I really think is interesting at the moment is Sareth. Because I didn't think I was going to like her. I thought she was just going to be a bit of a superficial character that Day was just using. But yeah, the last few episodes, the stuff with Sareth, I think is getting really, really interesting. She's the one, it seems, other than, I suppose, Dawn, that's got the most to lose. Because she's part of Day's long-term plan, but I don't know if everyone's on board with it, including Day himself, because whenever he talks about his future with her, it kind of feels like he's having trouble sticking to the idea that he's come up with, or he's realised, it might not be as simple as he wants. Because in this episode, they kind of indicated that if they do have children, it won't be the old-fashioned way. It's going to be done through technology rather than nature. And we've seen them together in a sort of intimate scene as well, and Day wasn't really feeling it. And, I know it's all subjective, but I would say Sareth is a attractive woman, if that's your thing. But we know that previous Days as well, I suppose, had relationships with women, because we've seen that in Season 1, but yeah, interesting with Sareth what they're doing at the moment. And I think Day's completely backed himself into a corner after announcing that he's marrying her and announcing that he's ending the clone dynasty, because once you say that in public to that many people, and it's not like he just said it to people in the arena, that was like to the entire empire, which is billions upon billions of trillions of people, you've kind of got to wonder what he's going to do if maybe things don't work out the way he wants. Because the way that she took the stage and sort of outshone him, that was a great move. That showed that she thinks ahead and plans ahead, and she knows this guy's weakness. Definitely. Let's see, where are we? But I don't know. What do you think is going to happen with the whole Day Dawn pregnancy thing? Because as soon as I seen her with brother Dawn, literally a split second before she said that, I thought she's going to try and get pregnant through him, because they wouldn't be able to detect the difference. I mean, they might be able to detect the difference, I suppose, because there is the whole genetic drift thing, but they've not really went into detail about how different, from the current dawn to dusk, or the current dusk to dawn, whichever way you want to look at it, on a genetic level, how different are they and how detectable would that be? I think if you had a kid, I don't think it'd be that detectable, surely, but you never know. But yeah, I really like Sareth. I wasn't madly keen on her. I didn't think she was going to have the depth that they've given to her. I thought she was just going to be like trying to find out revenge about obviously what happened to her family and things, and she was just going to be out on a revenge hit, which she kind of is. But they're definitely going to do more, and I hope that they keep her around for a while. I also wonder as well that say Day's plan does go to plan, that's terrible English. Say Day's plan does work and he gets married and they have a kid or kids. Like, is Day just going to get old and die? Like, part of me thinks that when he means a new dynasty, he might mean that he's just going to clone him and Sareth, because they've got the technology to do that. And I suppose that's another thing, that imagine her and Dawn do manage to take out Day, and I don't mean kill him, I just mean like thwart his plan or undermine him. What if she just decides to get rid of the Cleons and clone herself? How would people react to that? I've got to wonder. But I'll go back to the chat a little bit before I move on to the next character one, because it's another one of the clones. So let's see what we got. Okay, CK Not going back to the thing with the Prime Radiant. Just went back to check episode 6, mark 18 minutes. A device looked like the prototype is unfolded on the table. It was during the scene when Tellum goes to confront Gaal looking for the Prime Radiant. Was that the bit in the ship? If it's the bit in the ship, I think I remember what you're talking about. But also Harry told her to hide it. And they've kind of not went back to that and read her mind, because, yeah, that's a good point, actually, that she's the only one that knows where it is. And she's on a planet full of telepaths, so why haven't they really clicked onto that? I wonder. Interesting. That's definitely something for a video, but it's going to come later this week. So, yeah, I'm doing videos on the Cleonic dynasty. I've got that one written, but I've not recorded it yet. And basically why it was always going to fail. And then I've got another on Demerzel. I'm not going to talk about Demerzel in this stream because I've got so much to talk about in the video, and if we get into it, I'll just waste it all. I don't mind dropping a few ideas in live streams and then extending them in videos, but I don't want to do it the other way about because it'll kind of be pointless. But what else is going on in the chat? Let's see, got a few folks here. So John says, when the Imperial fleet shows up in Terminus, this will force the Spacers to decide if they're now superfluous to the Empire and if they get the Foundation's FTL tech. Yeah, Spacers, going to talk about them a little bit as well, because I don't think it'll be as clear cut as has been suggested in the most recent episodes. TK not just saying, yeah, the Prime Radiant was the scene in the ship. Right, let's see, where are we? But one of the clones that I do want to talk about and I've mentioned a little bit is Dusk. So they've kind of not spoke about the whole missing memories thing, and I've got a few ideas on that, but what bothers me about Dusk is we've seen how many versions of this guy now? Three I think. He's never allowed to get as old as the original Cleon. Because I mentioned, if you've missed the start of the stream, I mentioned earlier on that, say Dusk is 80, the original Cleon, like the one we see in the box and the one we see in the flashback in the first season, looks about, it's hard to tell because people can age up quite quickly when they get old, but he looks at least 10, 15, maybe 20 years older. So I just wonder why Dusk isn't allowed to get to that stage. I think that's a little bit odd. But what do you guys think? I mean, does that account for the missing memories? It's not going to be that simple. Of course it's not going to be that simple, but there's just something about the fact that these two guys look so different and they've not really explained it yet. I mean, it might just be to make it easier for the audience to understand, because the Cleonic dynasty is a great device for telling a story that's spread out over 1,000 years, so making the original look different from the, whatever Dusk is alive at that time, if you're not following the episode, it makes it easier to follow. So is it, I suppose I'm asking, is it a superficial choice to tell the story, or is it something that's going to add to the story? Are they going to explain why Dusk never gets to the age that the original Cleon was at? So Juan's saying Dusk is euthanized at 90 when he becomes darkness. So yeah, okay, 90, so then that would make the original Cleon, I suppose, over 100. The original Cleon was special, yeah. He was, in the fact that he came up with this plan, but yeah, I've got a video coming probably tomorrow. I might do it, I'll have time to do it tomorrow on, let's say, the Cleonic dynasty. Why it would never work, or why it was designed never to work, and why the original Cleon is kind of similar to Harry Seldon in Psychohistory. I don't want to talk about it because there'd be no point in me doing the video. Let's see what else we've got. So going back to what I was saying about Becky and the jump ships, John's got a good point here. I try not to talk about stuff that's been released in the trailers or looks ahead and things like that, because it's not the kind of theory stuff that I like to do. Without context, it's kind of hard to come up with a good theory. I mean, if you're like a Marvel or a DC fan, if you look at any, or a lot of people that make videos, the theories or Star Wars is a great one. No, let's not talk about other YouTubers, let's talk about me. I done an Ashoka trailer video, and I put a whole bunch of theories in it, and one of them I went, oh, this is clearly in this other region of space, but it wasn't. It was in Corellia, and we found out in episode 2, and I was totally wrong. So when it comes to theories, I try and keep it in context with what I know, not what I see. But yeah, we know from the preview that Day will be attacked by Becky, so at some point Hober Malor's Whisper ship will get to Trantor. Well, we don't know it's Becky. We know, I can't remember the name of the creature that they are, but it's just that creature. It probably is Becky because we've seen Becky pop up a few times, but it just means that Day is going to end up on Terminus at one point. Or it could be, I suppose, that it could be on Trantor. But yeah, if you remember the Season 2 trailers, you've seen Day on Terminus. There was a few other things I noticed about that, but I'm not going to say, because again, it's... I don't have the context to talk about it, but there was... If you look at Constance's eyes, and you go back and you look at that trailer, and you look at Day's eyes, you'll notice that they look the same. They're the same colour. That's all I'll say on that one. I might do a theory video on it, I don't know. But where was I talking about Bel Rios? There we go. That's a crap picture. There's a better one. So, what do you think about Bel? I mean, they seem to be setting up the fact that this guy could turn on the Empire towards the Foundation. I mean, his husband kind of said everything that I was thinking with regards to, well, I mean, look at what they've got. We know they've got the auras, we know they've got the jump tech. We don't know what else they've got. I mean, imagine that most of this technology was adapted from the Invictus or backwards engineered from the Invictus in Season 1. But yeah, we've not seen what they've got in terms of weaponry or defensive technology on a wide scale yet. So interesting. I do wonder what side Bel is going to come down on. But I like that Bel is logical. I like the way that he's thinking, because the counter argument that he made to his husband was like, yeah, I mean, we could take on the clones and then we could kill them, but if we kill them, there's just going to be more. And then if we kill them, what do we do? What's going to replace these guys? And I think that's a good point, because that could lead to the fall a lot quicker, as well. As Bel said, the Foundation isn't in a position to replace the Cleons or replace the Empire just yet, because... Excuse me. Because you'd need to manage thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of planets with loads of people on it, and whenever you get rid of a king or a queen, there is going to be a power vacuum, and that's... I don't think that's part of Harry's plan, is to create a power vacuum. I think it's going to be a slow decline for the Empire, which why I think there's going to be another time jump in Season 3. Let's see, where are we? But I think Bel could be a tipping point towards the Empire falling, because if he does decide to back the right horse, I should say, or change his point of view, you know, what is to stop him showing up on Terminus and siding with the Foundation? I mean, what's to stop him showing up on Terminus and just handing his fleet over or handing his ship over? I mean, one ship's not going to make a difference, but you know, they were going to jump the Invictus into Trantor Season 1. So yeah, I wonder, like, what if he shows up with Constant, releases her, says to the Foundation, look, you know, I'm just going to tell them that you're destroyed and that's it. I don't think that'll happen, but I think it's a possibility. But Bel, I wonder how popular he is outside of his own crew, because we've seen how they responded to him when he got back on his ship, but is he that popular? I wonder. Also, I wonder what if Bel does decide to stay on the Empire side. Is his husband going to do it, or is he going to jump ship to the Foundation? Because as I was saying earlier on, I was shocked at how quickly they got him out of prison and put him back on a ship. I thought that was going to be... When we seen him back on Trantor, I thought, oh, it's going to be 2 or 3 episodes, then it's going to pick back up with him doing something. And they just sort of put him back on a ship straight away and let him go. And I was like, that's not the wisest choice. And letting him go with the leverage that you had over him isn't the wisest choice either. What else we got on Bel? Excuse me a moment, guys. But if Bel does go up against the Foundation and it's kind of any sort of big fight, like, as far as we know, Empire hasn't lost a battle or hasn't lost a war in centuries and centuries. So say the opening battle with the Foundation is, you know, they don't decimate the fleet, they just sort of teach them a lesson and send them on their way. How is Bel going to react to that, and how are the rest of the soldiers and the Empire and the fleet going to react? Because if you've never lost and you've never been challenged, that'd really knock your confidence, I think. But is there anything else with regards to the show you guys want to talk about? I'm going to have a quick look in the chat. There is a bit of a delay, so give me a second. So spoke about Hobart and that already. Juan says, so the auras don't protect against the Beckys. Well, one thing that occurred to me was we know that Constant had an aura, but yet they were able to, like, I suppose, electrocute her in episode 7 in order to force Harry out. So I guess that they've either developed a way round it or they've got a specific technology to get round it, but they had only kind of just had it confirmed that the Foundation had that level of technology, so I don't know. Maybe a bit of an inconsistency there. Or maybe they didn't send Polly and Constance with an aura. Because if Harry might not have anticipated that they would have found out at that point, so I suppose you wouldn't want to tip your hand by having people show up with technology that they shouldn't have. So Fernandez T says even they said there was 3 rules of robotics. Is it me or did they only mention 2? I think you may be right on that. Let's see, I've got a Demerzel video coming and it is all about what does serve the Empire mean. Like, that's a pretty broad thing. It doesn't say serve the Cleons or serve the Dynasty, it's serve Empire. So something to think about, but yeah, I'm not going to talk about Demerzel or anything like that because that video's coming probably Tuesday this week. It's going to be quite a long... Oh, that one and the Cleon one might be a bit of a long one, but I'll cut it down. Chris Wiz says, did you go over what Bel Rios' order actually is that they were fighting about? The order that they gave him, I think maybe that's what you're talking about. From what I remember, it was to go to Terminus and take out the Foundation and take any surviving technology, I should say, back. But yeah, I think we're going to get a Battle of Terminus a lot bigger than the one we got at the end of Season 1. Again, going back to the trailer, I'm sure, I've not watched it since before the season started, but I remember that there was clips of space battles that I don't think we've seen. I might be wrong about that, but yeah. Yeah, Chris, I think it was the order to go and basically destroy the Foundation and take the technology off them. Because I think the way that Dusk said it to Polly was, you're still servants of the Empire, or you're still part of it. He said something like that, not exactly quoting word for word, obviously, but you know, the way that Dusk seen it was, hey, we still own you, so whatever you've come up with, hand it over, kind of thing. I think that's what it is, Chris. I'm not 100% sure. I'd need to go back and watch the episode. Bel isn't a character that I'm focused on too much at the moment because they've not done a lot with him. They've kind of set up what he might do or what he could do, but they've not given it a real direction on it. Fernandez says, I can't wait to see what tech the Foundation has in battle that will counter the Empire's crazy power. I hope it's clever. And yeah, we don't know what was on the Invictus because that ship had been missing for how long was it? I think it was 700 years or something in the first season. And I'm sure that they would have improved on it. And the Foundation is a planet full of like scientists and big brains, so I'm sure they've got pretty good technology. And, you know, even if without the Selden plan or if the vault collapsed, they're going to know that the Empire's coming for them at some point, so they're going to have something prepared. But I just wonder, you know, how is the battle going to go? Are they going to wipe them all out? Are they going to teach them a lesson? Are they going to, you know, spank their bum and send them on their way kind of thing? But what do you guys think? Are we going to see a big battle? Oh, okay, let's put it this way. We're going to see a battle on Terminus. Who do you think is going to win the battle? The Foundation or the Empire? I mean, I don't see it ending in a stalemate. I just can't do that, but interesting to see what you guys think. Excuse me. So John says, excuse me, short of secret self-destruct, the Imperial ships could take off and the fleet could follow Bell. There's no reason for Bell and Spacers staying loyal to Empire. Yeah, I get where you're coming from, but the way that Spacer put it in that most recent episode was that they didn't really want to take the risk of, going against the Empire, because you don't know how they're going to react. Are they going to try and kill them? Are they going to take more of their kids or their offspring, whatever you want to call it? But let's talk about the Spacers then. Where are we? Right, yep, brilliant. So yeah, talking about the Spacers briefly, the way that the proposition was made, or the way that the proposition was received, I should say, by the Spacers was it was an all or nothing. You're either with the Foundation or you're with the Empire. And I just wonder, like, what if not all the Spacers are on board with that? I think the Spacer on Bell's ship is going to be important. But I think that Spacer, along with Bell's husband, could be the thing that decides the future of what Bell does and what the Spacers do, because we're assuming that, although they call it the Swarm or the Hive ship or something like that they don't all have to think in unity. They're not the Borg from Star Trek. So what if some Spacers did want to rebel and take a chance, and what if some just wanted to stay with Empire? I think that's worth thinking about as well. But also there's a great point of, you don't need a Spacer anymore if you've got the Foundation's tech, so that not only gives them freedom, but is also a death sentence, because if the clones or the Empire get their hands on the Foundation's jump tech, then why would they need the Spacers? The Spacers would just be, like VHS tapes compared to like a 4K DVD. You could use it, but why would you use it? But I really appreciate everyone showing up in the chat today, guys. It wasn't last minute. I'd been planning to do this. I'd done a little test live stream on Friday there just to get the hang of it and see if I could do it. So the fact that even one person has shown up, let alone all of you, blows my mind. And just say thanks for supporting the channel and all the videos, Foundation and Silo especially. It seems for some reason people really like Apple Plus shows as opposed to Star Wars and Star Trek. But yeah, I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you taking the time to tune into the stream. And I love interacting with people in the comments and hearing ideas. So if I don't read out your comment or I don't read out something in the chat, it's not that I don't want to. It might just be a bit long-winded or something that I've already said or a point that I'm going to get to. So if I don't reply to you or I don't mention it, just don't take it too hard. I can't go into detail and give a big detailed reply for everyone, but I do try my best. Because when I started the channel, look, I thought if I got 100 viewers, I'd be like, ah, cool, that's it. And then I just got lucky with it, and it is just luck. There's like people talk about the YouTube formula, but it's perseverance and luck, if you ask me. And I think I'm going off topic a little bit here with what I was talking about with Foundation, but I think I am going to do more shows like Foundation and Silo and Severance as well. I'm going to do a Severance 1 recap before Season 2 comes back, because those, one, I get more views on it, just to make it simple. I get more views on it. I ain't competing with like 200 Star Wars channels or 200 Star Trek channels just to be selfish. And two, these are relatively new properties, so it's relatively new fan bases. Whereas with Star Wars and Star Trek, both properties that I both love, but Star Wars especially is such a, I'm just going to say, it's such a toxic, or could be potentially toxic fan base, that I don't want to get into it too much and go down that whole, you know what I mean. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. And if you don't know what I mean, good. I'm glad you don't know, because if you don't know about the toxic side of Star Wars fan base, I envy you. I envy you big time. Another show I want to do is For All Mankind, which I know is coming back. I don't know if I'll be able to recap How many seasons are there? This is season 4. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to recap 3 seasons though. I've seen the first 2, and I've seen, I think, the first 3 episodes of season 3, but if I'm going to do a recap video on it, I need to go back and watch all the seasons, so that's, whatever it is, 8 or 10 episodes, so that's like, say, 30 or 40 hours, so I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to do that, but, excuse me, with the stuff that's going on in Hollywood at the moment and the strikes, it might actually work in my favour and give me more time to do it. And I'll try it. So it's Star Wars Rebels. I wanted to cover all of Star Wars Rebels, and I've watched the first 2 seasons and I've written scripts. Actually, I've watched the first 3 seasons. I've written scripts for the first 2, but then it's sitting down and editing the videos. By the time that I'd done it, Ahsoka would probably be over, so it'd be pointless, kind of thing. And again, there are other much bigger channels that cover Star Wars, so I'm going to try and do smaller, not niche shows, but I suppose niche shows, yeah. And I'm going to start doing movies and things as well. I've got a few movie ones written, because I don't really cover movies on the channel, and I don't know why I don't do that. But it's not going to be like your mainstream movies. It's going to be like maybe older sci-fi ones. I'm definitely going to do all the Star Trek films at some point, and Star Wars, I don't really know. But yeah, Fernandez makes a good point, and Apple and HBO are the hit makers, and I always compare Apple and HBO because it feels like, it's quote unquote prestige television. And not every HBO show is amazing, because HBO has obviously been around a lot longer than Apple. Not every Apple show is amazing. I didn't like that Jason Momoa one, and I didn't like, I can't even remember the name of that other show. Shrinking, was it? That kind of comedy one with the guy from How I Met Your Mother and Harrison Ford. Wasn't a big fan of that. So Gerald Floyd said For All Mankind is amazing. Absolutely. Like, love that show. Really love that show. And I love it's not like the multiverse thing, it's just an alternative history. And I love the actors in it as well. Pretty much all the actors in it are really solid. But yeah, season 3, I need to get my arse into gear and watch that. Gerald also says Foundation deserves more attention. I think that's the case for all Apple shows, to be honest. I've said this in my stream the other night, and I'm sure I've said it before. I might have said it in my videos. I can never remember what I say and what I cut out, but Apple doesn't care about streaming, and that's not in a bad way, because if you ask me, and it is just my opinion, if you're talking about the streaming wars, Apple and Amazon are going to win. And the reason that they're going to win is streaming isn't their primary business. Think about how many weeks of profit from Amazon or Apple finances a TV show. I mean, how many iPhones you need to sell, or how many weeks of iPhones you need to sell to finance a TV show, which I think is why they don't promote their TV as much as they should. I mean, I see adverts for it on bus stops and the side of buses and stuff, but I don't see TV adverts or anything like that for Apple, because TV isn't their first market. Their first market is selling you MacBooks and iPhones and iPads and stuff. So I think that's a good thing. I think that's a bad thing. I think that they haven't had a universal hit either. They haven't had like a must-watch hit like Game of Thrones, or like one of those kind of, like Sopranos. Like when Sopranos came out, I mean, I wasn't a kid. I was in my teenage years when Sopranos came out, and everyone knew what Sopranos was. If you're from outside the UK, you can't get HBO in the UK, and we never will. I won't get into why, it pisses me off, but we can't get HBO in the UK. And yeah, everyone is. If you ask most people, they probably wouldn't be able to tell you what an HBO show is, but they would know the little intro thing that's Netflix, but the one that HBO does with the little static electricity thing. But anyway. So yeah, Susanna Troy says, I agree, don't like those 2 Apple shows, do like Apple sci-fi. I think it's the writers that they've got as well. I mean, For All Mankind is, I know it's more than Ronald D. Moore from Star Trek, but it's got solid writers, it's got a lot of people involved in Star Trek that were involved in that, and the same with Foundation. Because people always talk about David Goyer, in Foundation, but if you look at the titles, it says co-created by Josh Friedman, who also done a not controversial, but controversial franchise of Terminator. If you ever watched Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles, which was out around, Christ, when was that? 2009, maybe 2010. Great show, the best Terminator sequel that's ever been made, and no one talks about it. A lot better than any films that we ever got after Terminator 2. And yeah, Gerard makes a good point about Apple TV. Ted Lasso has been their biggest hit. I agree with that. I've not watched it because I wanted to wait till all the seasons are finished, and I know it just finished a month ago. And yeah, thanks for reminding me, because I need to check out Ted Lasso. I think the thing that put me off it as well is football. I don't like football. Fernandez says, I'm sad they cancelled Raised by Wolves. Absolutely loved that show, and I was going to cover it and they cancelled it, and I was so pissed off. Raised by Wolves was awesome. The first season was slow as hell. The second season completely addressed every issue, gave you more characters, more action, more backstory. Ended with a couple of huge cliffhangers, and that was it. I mean, they should bring out novels or comic books or graphic novels Raised by Wolves. Oh, I would love to. I'd love to watch that, read it. Do I have Cash App? Fernandez is asking. I don't know. I have PayPal though. I can give you my PayPal. Do you have a Twitter? And I can send it to you over Twitter, Fernandez. I really appreciate any support for the channel. But yeah, Raised by Wolves. Oh, I'll need to go back and watch that. I don't even know it's not on TV because HBO bloody took it down, didn't they? I know, again, I said we don't get HBO in the UK, but when something disappears off HBO, it disappears here in the UK as well. Chris says you don't have to like soccer to like Ted Lasso. Yeah, I've heard it's all about the characters and stuff. One of the actors in it, I don't know the character that he plays, but the actor's called Nick Ahmed. I seen him do comedy about 10 years ago, doing a solo show for an hour. And that guy had so much energy, man, he completely blew my socks off. Or maybe I should do a Raised by Wolves video then, because that's a few people in the chat commenting about it. It was only 2 seasons, so I suppose it wouldn't take me that long to do it. But that season 2 Raised by Wolves was brilliant. And if you've not seen Raised by Wolves, again, I don't know how you would get it if it's not on HBO, but if you like Foundation, you would probably like Raised by Wolves, because it's a very similar feeling world. And I like that they mixed the future and technology and religion. I thought that was pretty good. So, what do you think? Should I do a Raised by Wolves video? If you can't watch it anymore though, I don't know, is it worthwhile doing it? Because say I done a Raised by Wolves video and someone wanted to watch it and they couldn't, that'd piss me off. But if you want me to do a Raised by Wolves video, just type Y in the comments. And if I get enough, I'll probably do it, because again, with all Hollywood stuff at the moment, it's not limited to what you can talk about, but it's going to become that way soon, because how long before they run out of shows? Do you know what I mean? But back to Foundation. I've totally been off on one here, guys, but I'm enjoying it, and thanks for showing up. Excuse me. Let's actually go to some comments. Now, some of these that I have replied to and some that I haven't. So, again, some comments are a little bit too wordy, or it's stuff that I've mentioned before. So, if you comment in the comments of a video, I try and at least like it or acknowledge that I've seen it. And you might get a one-word reply of cool or good point, because sometimes when I read comments, I'm not at home, I'm out and about and doing stuff. But I appreciate every single person that watches, takes time to watch the video, takes time to like, and definitely takes time to leave a comment. That's why I wanted to do a live stream now, because I was like, I'm getting a good interaction with people. And it's a good fan base. No dickheads. Yeah. Maybe I'm the dickhead. Oh, yeah, if there's no dickheads, you're the dickhead. So let's do some comments then. Let's see, where are we? Make sure this is coming up. I can't see it on screen. There we go. Brilliant. Right. So, this is from Ariel. Telling could be used by the Mule against their will. Gaal should not have gone back in the future to let the Mule read her mind. The asshole Empire will attack the Spacers on the suspicion that they're rebelling against them. That's going to be the Empire's undoing. Sareth is going to die. Brother Dawn is going to betray her. Constant and Polly are going to be delivered from death by Hob or Mallow. Bel Rios is going to join the Foundation. Gaal is going to kill Tellum. And it was a serious mistake to kill Salvor. A lot going on in that comment. So let's start at the top. Where are we? Right. So with the visions thing, yeah, I said it earlier on in the stream. If you missed the start of the stream. I think Gaal might have had another vision that we've not seen on screen yet, because I don't get why they would only do it once. But then I suppose she says she needs to be near death, so how are they going to do that, or how is she going to do that and it not get noticed? You know, you can't exactly like come round the corner and she's trying to like choke herself out or whatever. What else has Ariel said? The asshole Empire will attack. I keep laughing. The Empire will attack the Spacers on suspicion that they're going to rebel against them. I think that's possible, but you know, they've already got the way that interaction with Hobor and the Spacer went. The Spacer, or the way that the Spacer seen, or the way that the Spacer viewed how the Empire used them, it did make it feel like she felt like their children were hostages. That's why I think that the Spacer and Bell ship is probably going to be quite important, at least to Bell's story, maybe not to the whole overall Foundation arc or whatever. Let's see what else. Sareth is going to die? I hope not. Like Sareth, like as a character has grown on me, like the actress as well. She really, not the actress, but the character of Sareth really reminded me of Daenerys in Game of Thrones when she showed up. I think it was just the colour scheme though, because she was wearing a lot of blues, and I'm sure they had Emilia Clarke in a lot of blue in Game of Thrones. Obviously the actresses don't really look that much alike, but I really like Sareth quite a bit, and yeah, annoys me as well. The thing I like about Foundation is, like, I can't remember every actor's name, but Salvor, Gaal and Sareth are all British actresses that are reasonably young and unknown, so it's kind of good that, you're finding out all these cool new actors and whatever, but then when you go to watch other stuff that they've done, it's like it's either not, you know, they're not going to watch an entire movie or TV show just for one scene of this actor in it. Because at the end of the first season, I went to look and see if I could find anything that the actress that played Gaal, I think her name's Lulu Bell, I think that's her name, had done, and she kind of hadn't done anything, so I thought she was like, 20, but I think she's 28 or something like that. But yeah, I like that they use unknowns, but also annoying if you want to see actors work. So he thinks that Brother Dawn is going to betray Sareth. I don't know, because Dawn had that definite look on him. Well, I think I've got a picture of it. Where is it? Yeah, he's definitely given it a think over what he's going to do. So talking about Sareth for a minute, what do you guys think that Dawn is going to do? Is he going to go along with her plan? Because Dawn and Dusk really seem to be, in cahoots this season. At least the last few episodes with the whole memory thing. So, yeah, they're going to need to bring that up, but do you think Dawn is going to go along with that, or do you think he's going to turn her over? Because as she pointed out, if Day gets his way, then Dawn is effectively out the loop. The loop's ending, and the guy, Dawn only exists for the one purpose, to be the next Day. So when you take that purpose away, what's going to become of that guy? I mean, forget if Day's going to kill him or whatever. Let's say he does live. Like, what would he do? You can't really have him walking around normally, because he's going to age up to look like the Emperor. So, tricky one. Tricky. So Jared says, Sareth reminds me a little of Marjorie Tyrell. Yeah, That is a good comparison. Well, in terms of the way she's dressed with all the sort of blue colouring and stuff, but yeah, because Marjorie Tyrell was obviously marrying kings and princes left and right in Game of Thrones. But that's a really good comparison. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. Let's see what else have we got in the chat. I'll do another comment in a second. Okay. Bear with me, guys. Oh, John Bond is heading off. John, thanks for joining me in chat. Hopefully see you again soon. CK Not says, what if Tellum is the Mule? The whole foresee the future vision with the Mule killing Salvor is Tellum messing with Gaal. A typical cliched way to unveil things though. Well, there has been a few theories online, and I need to go back and watch the episode, that the little boy that Salvor was talking to that had his throat cut is going to be the Mule. But actually, I've got the picture here. So in fact, I've got a picture of the Mule here somewhere. Where is it? Or did I put it in? Did I not put it in? Give me a sec. Because I had a good look at one of the pictures of the Mule that I could find. I didn't go back through my videos yet. Ah, there we go. Right. Because if he is the kid on the planet, bring that out. There we go. If the Mule is the kid on the planet, he doesn't have, as far as I can see in that picture, the scar around his neck that the kid had. So I think the Mule might be one of the children on the planet, or as I said earlier on, he might end up being born there eventually, and he becomes the Mule after hearing about this guy that's coming, and just thinks, well, you know, I could be that guy. But yeah, interesting. I don't know what they're going to do with the Mule, because it threw me so much when they introduced him in episode 2 or 3, that I was, because the Mule, if you've read the books, as soon as I heard there was a Foundation TV show and I seen season 1, I was like, oh, I can't wait till they get to the Mule. But I thought it'd be at least the back end of season 3 before they started talking about the Mule. So I was shocked that they brought him in. And this guy, if you watched my Mule video, I've said that this guy looks nothing like what I was expecting the Mule to look like either. But let's go back to the comments then. So let's see. So JVR 1981 says, I love it how Demerzel told Sareth who the real boss is, and that she was the one who killed her family. That took away the smug smile on Sareth's face real quick. Oh, you think Sareth's smug? I suppose. I like her. I like that she was being that playful. With not being that playful, I suppose, but yeah, I'll call it being playful with the Cleons when she showed up. There was that whole scene when they were all having dinner, but Rue keeps warning her not to embarrass or, you know, force her hand too much with Day. But yeah, I get where you're coming from. Not everyone's going to like every character. That's absolutely fine, nor should they. But I like Sareth, and the scene with her and Demerzel was great, because the initial one that they gave us this week, when they're just walking to, or Sareth is just walking with Demerzel to get her medical inspection, that wasn't the face-off that I was expecting. It was the whole bit during the medical, or at the end of the medical inspection, when Demerzel went, yeah, I'd done it. Of course I'd done it. And he knew about it. Like, yeah, of course that was going to happen. So, not what I was expecting, but certainly what I was hoping for, because they're two great characters. But when you think about it, Demerzel should be able to outsmart anyone, because she's centuries old, and she seems to have all her memories and knowledge from her life, because she mentioned that she'd served other people in the past. But let's see. Excuse me a moment, guys. So let's have a look at the chat before I go on to the next comment. Dawn's storyline. Let's see, Gerald says, Dawn's storyline is giving me deja vu from the last season. Yeah, absolutely. We've seen Dawn get played by a woman before, but maybe that just is a trait that's going to be in every Cleon. I don't know. Let's see. What's going on with his eyes in that picture of the mule? I think that's the mule you're talking about. I don't know. Honestly, I just thought it was maybe when he was using his powers or his ability because he was looking into Gale's mind. Yeah, CK Note says maybe he consumed the spice. And yeah, I've got a comment about the comparisons between June and Foundation as well. Yeah, there it goes. It's even the next comment up. Parentheses. I'm just going to call him PE. I even know his real name because PE's been a long time supporter of the channel who sadly is not here. I don't think. But yeah, the June franchise has a group of modified humans that everyone is dependent on for interstellar travel. The Spacing Guild. I wonder how they compare to the Spacers and the Foundation. A lot of comparisons between June and the Foundation. If you've never read the June book or books, the next film that's coming out, or the one that's just been delayed, that I was really looking forward to, that's going to get more into their emperor and the politics of that world with him and his daughter. Who's it? Florence Pugh's playing the princess. Is it Princess? Yeah, Princess Arelon, that's her name. Yeah, I remember when season 1 of Foundation came out, because it came out around the time of June, I think, or it was maybe a year after it, and I've read the first June novel, and I'd read both, going back years, going back to like when I was a kid, I'd read June and a few of the Foundation novels, and I'd forgotten about the comparisons, because I never thought in a million years Foundation would be a TV show, and I never thought in a million years would get that good an adaptation of June. But yeah, I can see why there is a lot of comparisons between them, because it is all about politics and space empires and stuff like that. But it's like anything else. There's the whole debate that there's never an original idea. Someone always borrows something from somewhere else, and it's true, sadly, these days. Although the Barbie film seems to be knocking that one on the head, but we're probably going to get another 10 years of toy films. Let's see. CK Not says, I think we'll get more on Demerzel backstory in the very next episode. Prior to the recent podcast. I don't listen to the podcast, but yeah, I expected there would be a flashback episode, or at least scenes of a flashback on Demerzel, because we've only had one, I think, and that was in the first season when she was with the original Cleon, watching the Star Bridge get built. But yeah, I think the mysteries, or at least some of the mysteries around her, need to get answered. And the fact that they brought up the robotic laws, I was shocked about, because I remember hearing David Goyer say they don't have the rights to a lot of the robot stuff. Because it's like I think it's like the Lord of the Rings TV show where they can mention certain things, but they can't then use it in a story. But it's always going to be the way with these novels that are 60, 70 years old. The family are going to carve it up, and the rights were probably sold off to certain people ages ago, because that happens as well. Happened with David Lynch in Twin Peaks, which was a pain in the ass if you're a Twin Peaks fan. But bear with me a second, guys, it's going to go silent, just we'll have a quick drink. Sorry about that, but when you're doing it on your own, you don't realise how taxing it is speaking for this amount of time. Let's see, where was I in terms of the comments? Oh, another one from PE. I just picked these at randomly, so I didn't look actually. But each episode, the Foundation keeps getting better and better, in my opinion. And Salvor's death in the episode was completely unexpected for me and was like a gut punch. That ending really left me in shock. Yeah, as soon as I seen her get into the water and Tellum was there, I thought she's in trouble. But I don't think she's dead. I think it's Salvor projecting to Tellum or Gaal projecting to Tellum. It's Harry's the one I don't know, because if you look at the scene where Salvor dies, she's face down in the water and Harry was face up, and when she found him, his face was sort of bobbing above the water. But the way that she reacted to seeing him was that he was dead. But again, you know, is Harry ever dead? It's a whole thing, put it that way. Susanna says, I don't think she's dead. Yeah, I don't either. Again, they could do the whole Game of Thrones thing, and if the show spans the same amount of time as the novels, they're going to have to kill people. They can't keep using hypersleep as a get round to keep your favourite character there. So they'll have to kill people eventually. And I was also hoping that we were going to get... We were going to get to see older versions of the character. So, you know, we might see Gaal when she's in her 40s or 50s or even older. Same with Salvor as well. But just don't keep using cryosleep as a sort of get round for keeping your favourite actors in. That's one thing that really pissed me off. But same with Hobor. I didn't expect Hobor Mallow to be that young, so I guess they're going to keep him around for a while. Let's see, what else have we got in terms of the comments? Oh, got a big one here. So, Dr. MJT says, let's see, in the age of an empire that uses memory scans, memory wipes, viewing, recording and removing memories from people's brains, the Spacers put everyone non-spacer into suspended animation / sleep during transit of folded space. With the mind monitoring equipment attached to their heads, it would be an ideal time to copy every person, or at least those of political interests' memories. Seems a wasted plot progressing vehicle with many permutations. And yeah, I think if the well, I'm going to take a few aspects of that, and I think I said it in my Spacers video, that if they do decide to rebel against the Empire, you know, that's a great way to do it and take out a whole load of people at once while they're asleep. You know, if Bell's fleet jumps to Terminus, they're going to have to sleep to get there. So what's stopping them from slitting a few throats and going all Roman Empire on them? Because that's kind of what the whole Foundation thing is. It's the fall of the Roman Empire in space. But what do you guys think? Are the Spacers going to rebel? And are they going to not be afraid to cross that line of using violence? Now, someone did mention earlier on in the chat if I'd Cash App. I've managed to set it up, but I don't know what you need from me in order to do it because I've never used it. I know that's big in America, but we don't really use Cash App here in the UK. Use bank transfers, which you can't. I didn't find that out till recently either. You don't do direct bank transfers through apps in America, which is weird. Bank transfers and PayPal. But if you let me know what information you need, I'll hand that over and stick it in the chat, or I'll stick it up on screen, I suppose. Gerard does make a good point. Gaal is narrating from some time in the future, and yeah, forgot about that because the start of season 1, episode 1, she mentions it. She mentions the Mule, she mentions Hobor Mallow, all that stuff to come. So I guess they are going to keep Lulu Bell, or whatever her name is, the actress that plays Gaal, around for a while, and good because I like her. I think she's got a very interesting accent as well. Anyway, let's see what we've got other comment-wise. Okay, from Seamus Delahunty 1665. Demerzel put her hand on the back of Day, not a good omen. Yeah, well, she's not afraid to kill a Cleon, we know that. But I don't know, like, in this most recent episode, one of the conversations between Day and Demerzel was him going, hey, well, you know, after all these centuries, you're not gonna be needed anymore, and I wonder how she's going to react to that. Similar to what I was saying about Brother Dusk. But yeah, Demerzel, not going to get too much into it because I've got a video coming about what serving the Empire means and maybe where that comes from. Excuse me. Let's see. What's the next one? So, from... I can't even read that. Jigen? I think 1504. I think the Mule is a descendant of Ignus. They deal with being an outcast, the disfiguration and possibility of revenge with something that happens. To tell him, yeah, because in the novel, that's why I was kind of shocked about the way that the Mule looked, is that he's described as being a sort of, not quasi-modal, but you know what I mean, like, his looks also add to the fact that he's an outcast. He's not the best looking guy, let's just put it that way. And yeah, I never thought about that because obviously you've got the kids with the scar across his throat. You've got the other guy that was talking to Salvor that's been burned. I'm sure there's going to be ones as well that have got other injuries or scars or disfigurements, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I mentioned it earlier on the stream. I think that little boy might not be the Mule, but I think the Mule is going to definitely come from that planet. And you know, maybe if Gaal decides not to side with Telm, she might create the Mule, or might try and create the Mule. But I suppose you can never really plan ahead. And let's see, one more. Ryan Conway, 2207. Big supporter of the channel recently, Ryan. I think you're in the chat, or at least you were, but yeah, you've commented a lot on every video that I've done, so I really appreciate that and the fact that you're taking the time to do it. Let's see, I'm just wondering which of all these plot lines, or a few, will be the big reveal to set up Season 3. Well, if there's a time jump, I think we're going to see... Let's have a look. Probably... I can't talk about it without really taking stuff for the novels. I think we're going to see the decline of the Empire, so it might still exist, but it'll be a lot smaller. And rather than the dynasty dominating things, they'll be trying to hold on to the territory that they've got. But yeah, I mean, with that, until we get to the end of the season, it's kind of hard to say. But I think Bel Rios, they're going to carry him over because they've not done a lot with him. Sareth, 50-50. Constant and Polly, I don't know if they're going to carry them over. Someone just seems to be spamming the comments here. Let's go back. Two seconds, I think somebody's spamming the old chat. Come on, right. What's going on here? But yeah, going back on, what are they going to carry over? What are they not? I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know. In terms of story, it's got to be about the fall. In terms of Season 3, I don't think they'll give us any more of the Mule, or at least I hope not. but I think you're probably going to be a lot more of the clones. Where the clones are at, you know, I think there might be Cleons that are still about, but not brother. You know, they might just be called Dusk and Dawn, but I don't think the dynasty, as we know it, is going to be still intact in the next season. But you never really know. But yeah, what do you guys think? Who do you think is going to get carried over to season 3? So if you just put the character's name in S3, I'll know who you're talking about, and then we can sort of open it up from there. Let's go back to... I do apologise. That was my mistake, excuse me. Having some technical difficulties here. My computer is just frozen, so I don't even know if the chat is still live. Okay, let's see. Excuse me a moment, guys. It is going to go silent. We'll try and sort this out because Google Chrome seems to have frozen, so I can't see the live chat. Let's bring this up. Come on. Although, how long have we been going on? If you can still hear me. God, that's been like an hour and a half. I didn't think I was going to go on that long, but time flies when you're enjoying yourself, I suppose. Actually, I suppose I can always bring it up on another device. Try it one more time. Man, that pissed me off. I got a technical difficulty right at the end. But I suppose for only my second stream, it's not too bad. I'm just going to try one more thing, and then if this doesn't work, I might have to call it a day. 17 people watching. Wow, I didn't think there were that many people watching. Thanks for that, guys. If you could leave a like on the video as well, that would be greatly appreciated. I know I ask a lot of people to do that, and I know it annoys people sometimes as well, but it's great growth for YouTube and the channel and all that stuff. Just Google Chrome ain't working the way that it should. Hold on. Hold on. Ah, there we go. There we go. I've got the chat back up. So yeah, I think we've got somebody spamming the chat here. And I'll just get rid of them. Yep, there we go. Back on. Fantastic. So yeah, sorry about that, guys. Had a bit of a technical issue. But yeah, spammers in the chat, I suppose that's one metric of being successful to some moderation on YouTube, is if somebody's spamming you, it means you're doing something right. Right, everything's back up. Sorry about that, guys. See what I've missed? I've just missed a whole load of spam in the comments. That's what I've missed. Man, that's a lot of spam. Sorry about that, guys. Really sorry about that. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Yep. Sorry, I shouldn't have got... Sorry. What I'll do next time, if there is going to be a next time, which I think there will be, because I'm having a lot more fun doing this than I thought I was gonna, is I'll need to appoint moderators in the chat, because I can't keep my eyes constantly on the chat, because obviously I'm reading off my notes for what I'm going to talk about. So, lesson learned on that one, and if you do want to be a moderator, just let me know. But yeah, I'm shocked that so many people tuned in. I was trying to pick a time, because obviously I'm in the UK. Most of my audience is in America, so I've got to try and pick a time that balances it well. And the chat that I'd done on Friday, because again it was just a test chat, I wanted to see if I could I want to see if I could do it and get a hang of the software and also be able to talk on my own without anyone else, having a co-host kind of thing. So that was just a test run. Went pretty well. But yeah, balancing out the time frame. A Sunday night for me is like a Sunday afternoon for people on the East Coast. And then it's like an early Sunday afternoon, I suppose, if you're on the West Coast. And you still get to include people from the UK as well if they show up. But yeah, it's a big balancing act. Like, I never do that. I never sit and think about my videos about what time I'm going to drop them, because people are on YouTube 24 hours a day. But live chats, interacting, that's what I wanted to do, and I'm really enjoying it so far. But I'm going to give a moment's silence while I get a drink, because we've got rid of the spammer, hopefully. But if there's anything you guys want to talk about, foundation wise, regards to my channels, my video, what you want me to cover in the future, just pop it into the chat and I'll talk about it in literally a minute. It's going to go quiet again for a second while I get a drink, so don't think that I've gone anywhere, right? Just let me know. Sorry about that, guys. Thanks for your patience. So we've got a few questions here in the chat. I'm never sure how you pronounce, people. It's because it's not your name, it's your handle or whatever, if you're reading it correctly or whatever. So if I mess it up, I do apologise, but I'm trying my best. So Agap 10,000 says, do you think Harry Seldon is going dark? Well, I suppose it all depends, what do you mean by that? Like Chris says at the next one, do you mean the cause of the Dark Ages? I think I was kind of shocked when they done the reveal that about Harry's past and the whole revenge thing. I was going to do a video on that, but I don't know. I don't know if I could talk any more about it than was given in the episodes, other than the fact that kind of changed my perspective on Harry. But I assume that every version of Harry is going to be similarly motivated, but we're going to have to wait and see. As Jared points out, there's 3 different versions of Harry at this point. Yeah, absolutely. But again, do they all have the same knowledge? Because the one that's on Ignus kind of indicated that he was, I'm not saying the Prime Harry, the main Harry, because Prime Radiant, Prime Harry is too much of a fucking similarity. But yeah, it doesn't seem that there's any difference in terms of their memory when it comes to their life before they were put in the Prime Radiant, or they were put in, or they became the Vault, that sort of thing. Let's see, what else have we got? Okay. Sorry about this again, a few more technical issues. So next question then from Chris. Quiz. That's an easy one to pronounce. If we can make your text small enough to read. Make the question small enough to read. There we go. Too small. What we get Foundation versus Empire War this season still, we'll definitely get a battle. I think, oh god, see if it ended on that, if it ended on like Bel Rios' ship showing up to Terminus and then it just cut into the end of the season, that would piss the hell out of me. But I think we're definitely going to see some conflict, because as I said earlier on in the stream, we still don't know exactly what happened with all that tech from the Invictus in Season 1. We don't know what else was on there. But certainly, we'll definitely get some sort of face-off between these two forces eventually. Excuse me. But yeah, as I said, I've got... Oh, excuse me. I've got videos on the Cleonic dynasty coming. I've got videos on Demerzel coming. I might do one on Sareth and Dawn. I don't know about that. I might do one about... oh, I know it's part of the Cleonic dynasty, but it's not in the video. The thing about the memory gaps between Cleons as well. But they've not really went back enough or given it enough context for me to do a theory on it. Because again, I like keeping the theories in context. Otherwise, I could just be... You know, I don't like... not that I don't like getting it wrong, but I think you need to know a bit of the story to put a theory in... to make it make sense is what I'm trying to say. Because I've not read... Did anyone watch my... Not my Foundation videos, I'm talking about my Foundation videos. Did anyone watch my Silo videos? Because that's when I sort of started doing theory videos, and that's when I started getting a lot of interaction and comments and stuff. And people that have read the books have went, you're 100% right on some things and completely wrong on others, and I like that. I've not asked what it is, but there's one person on Twitter that I speak to who's read the Silo, or I spoke to when Silo was on, that read the Silo books, and I would just send her a list of theories and say, this is my theories, and she would just go, yep, some of these are right, some of these are wrong, and some other people have said in the comments. So I really enjoy doing theories as long as they make sense, you know. I wouldn't want to go insane and do like a theory video about, well, this is how the Foundation wins, they clone 1 million Harrys and blah 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 and X, Y and Z. What's going on in the comments as well? Just checking our friend the spammer's not back. Can't believe that fucking happened. Jesus. So everyone seems to be interested in what's going to happen with the Foundation and Empire. And I'm trying to talk about it without talking about the books, because one, I don't want to potentially ruin anything, but I don't think I will, because again, I think they're just doing what Marvel doing and taking the threads of the story and adapting it. But in the novels, a part of the way that the Foundation manages to come to power is through trade. I think I can safely say that. And they kind of hinted at that this season with the whole Empire being out of touch with the Outer Reach thing. But yeah, I suppose you want big space battles, and certainly this season has picked up the pace compared to Season 1, but Season 1 was definitely a show that was affected by COVID. Like, if you go back and watch some of the scenes, you can tell there was supposed to be more people in certain scenes, because there's these huge voluminous rooms with no one in it. Especially the trial of Harry and the bit where Brother Day arrives on that planet with the spiral. I can't remember the name of the planet, but Season 2, flowing a lot better for me, pace is a lot better for me. I get why people are pissed off that it's diverging from the books, but again, why would you want to watch a one-to-one adaptation? That'd be completely pointless. Visually stunning, and I mean stunning show. So all the stuff that they're doing with like the Trantor rings and the jump ships and the swarm ships, and that's, you know, not action packed. Like, what is a space battle going to look like in this TV show? Probably, excuse my language, pretty fucking good. A Gap says we definitely need more action. We'll get there. You know, I wouldn't want it to rely on it too much. But we know Trantor's going to fall, so I'll be very interested to see how they're going to do that in the show. Because although we've spent a lot of time on Trantor, we've not really seen much. Well, certainly this season, all the stuff I've seen on Trantor has been in the kind of palace and the grounds, but the first season we had the whole Star Bridge collapse, and then the stuff with what was her name, Azura? Azura? Was that the name of the girl? Azura, and the lower levels of Trantor. So I'd like to see more of Trantor that isn't clone based, but I don't think that's going to be the case. So coming up near the 2 hour mark now, guys, 1 hour 47, so I'm going to cut it at about 2 hours. So if you've got any other questions, anything else you want to say, now is the time. Until, I suppose, next week. If I do a live stream, of course I'm going to do a live stream next week. This one went a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I'm just glad one person showed up, let alone 17 or 18. And you can always get me in the... If you comment on the community tab, you'll always get me there. Or, let's say, I always try and at least acknowledge people's comments in the videos. But, again, I can be walking down the street and I pick up my phone and read it, and there's a huge comment and I can't stop on the street and read it, so I just have to acknowledge it. But I try my best. So Chris Wiz says, I want to get off Ignus before the season ends. Yep, agree with you on that one, man. They spent far too much time on the planet and they've not taken any clear steps to building the second foundation yet. And that's the thing, is like, I suppose that's what the third season could be about, is building the second foundation, because what we've got, 3 episodes, 2 episodes left, depending on your point of view. And I thought this season was all going to be about, especially for the first episode, about building the second foundation, and that's not been the case. So maybe season 3 then is, if there's a time jump, we're going to see the second foundation, but we're not going to see it get built. That would kind of piss me off a little bit. So Jared says, I've not read the books, but really enjoy the ride. Might delve into the books for fun. Oh, I wouldn't say the books are, well, yeah, if you like reading, they're fun, but there's a lot more around, as I mentioned a moment ago, the trade aspect and building relationships and like stuff. See all the stuff with like, I thought that that's what they were going to do with Polly and Constant this season, and just send them planet to planet. Especially that episode where they found Hobor Mallow. I can't remember the name of the planet that they found him on, but I'm sure that's in the guy that was the leader of that planet plays a much bigger role in the books. I'm absolutely terrible with names, especially like non-traditional ones, so I'm amazed that I've not mixed up Trantor and Terminus in this stream, as far as I'm aware. I probably have, but yeah, let's see what else have we got. Let's go back a wee bit in case I've missed anything. So just before I wrap it up, because I'm losing my voice a little bit, is this time, depending on where you are, day or night, suitable for a live stream? Is because I want to do like a set in stone weekly one just for Foundation, where I don't talk about anything else, and then I'm going to do the one that I done on Friday, which is just me talking about stuff that's kind of in the entertainment sector that I want to speak about, but I don't want to necessarily sit and spend 4 hours making a video about, because I realise that, and I think this happens to a lot of YouTubers, you set out with one idea of what your channel is going to be, and then you adapt your channel around the audience responses. So when I originally wanted to start this channel, it was going to be maybe something along the lines of like what the John Campea show does, or what the John Campea show tried to do, and do like more rounded entertainment news. And then I realised very quickly that it was going to take me ages to do a single video, and I don't like, at the time, I'll point out, because obviously I'm doing a live stream now, that I didn't want to do live streams or anything like that. But now I'm very comfortable, or a little bit comfortable with doing it. So I'm going to talk about topics that aren't Foundation or Silo or Star Trek, and talk about stuff like comic books. And I mean direct comic books, because I want to cover The Boys, the comic and the show, and other shows that I just, like Stranger Things, I want to talk about Stranger Things, and I just don't have time to sit and do a video on that if I'm doing like 2 or 3 Foundation videos a week, or 2 or 3 Silo videos a week, or whatever. Like Star Trek as well, I don't really want to keep doing Star Trek videos. I'd rather talk about it in live streams. I'll cover the next, or the last season of Discovery, but yeah, I'm going to do streams about other things and maybe try and fit in some videos as well, but I just don't want to scare off any of you fine subscribers thinking that I'm trying to get the populist vote, or trying to get, like, you know, get that Marvel crowd or that Disney crowd or whatever, because I'm not about that. I don't care about the money. I don't make money, or I don't make that much. I don't make any money on YouTube, certainly not enough to live on. So stuff like that doesn't influence me particularly, but I just want to talk about stuff that's in the news. So where are we? How long we got left? So 7 minutes left, guys. You got any other final questions? I'm just going to take another quick drink so it'll go quiet. So, Jared Floyd on the Foundation podcast, he said the bottle of wine Hobor has will be important down the line. Any ideas how? Hobor. I was thinking of Polly. I was thinking of Polly there for a moment. Hobor. No, because I reread the first Foundation novel after the first season, but I didn't want to read beyond that because I didn't want to kind of have it plotted out in my head about what's going to happen. But certainly, I can tell you for a fact, Hobor is a much bigger, or will be a much bigger character if they stick to the rough plot outlines of the book. Like, that's why I expected him to be older. I didn't expect such a young guy to have the potential influence that Hobor's might have. I'm trying not to, again, give specifics, but no, I'll have a think about that. I can't remember off the top of my head. But maybe, I don't know. The wine, it's going to annoy me now. I'm going to have to look into that. But yeah, I'll if I find anything out, I'll maybe mention it in the video or stick it up in the community tab. But I say, is there any other shows that you want me to cover? Raised by Wolves, I think, is probably a safe bet. So I could do that. I could do that when Foundation comes to an end, I suppose. That'd be a good one. Severance, definitely going to cover that. I don't know how much detail. I don't even know when season 2 is coming out. For All Mankind, definitely going to cover the next season. Again, I might not have time to do a recap of the first 3 seasons. What else is there? Loki, I'm definitely going to cover Loki season 2, because again, I know I don't, I don't go off on Marvel stuff that much, but I really enjoyed the first season of Loki. Like, a lot. I think that and WandaVision were 2 phenomenal shows, and then the rest of the Marvel stuff has been pretty hit and miss for me. Ahsoka, yeah, I'm going to do, probably going to do Ahsoka this week as well, just because I'm interested to see where it's going to go. Although I know quite a bit of spoilers about that, but I'm not going to mention it here. What else? I don't know what other shows are there. Chris, you took the words out of my mouth. Invincible. Yes, I'm going to recover Invincible Season 1. I really want to cover the Invincible comics because I read them all after the first season, and like the Invincible comics, just man, what a run! Like consistently brilliant run in comics, and without spoiling anything for the show, but Invincible, the comics, it goes really off into space, other worlds, loads of aliens, like that character Alan, the alien, the big, is he orange? Yeah, I think he's orange guy, voiced by Seth Rogen, plays a huge role in the comics later on. Atom Eve, I watched that Atom Eve thing that they brought out last month, didn't get a chance to cover it yet, but I'll do that before season 2. But Invincible is definitely a show I'm going to cover, and a comic I would like to cover. But again, it's the size of the comic, and when I read it, I didn't take any notes. I just read it to read. I just sat down to enjoy it, not to make videos out of it. But we'd love to do it, but it all comes down to the timing. And even when the show is going to be out at the moment, I think it's September, November. So I can cover season 1, no problem. And I suppose I could do like a couple of issues of the comics a week and do it that way. And I want to do the same with The Boys, because The Boys is one of my favourite shows of the last 5 years. And it's not one that I've covered that much on. In fact, I think I've done a few videos on it and I deleted them. But yeah, The Boys is one I'm going to cover as well. I don't know if I'm going to do this. Yeah, I'll probably do the spin-off Gen Z when that comes up. But yeah, Chris, you mentioned the Atom Eve, going to cover that one, because Atom Eve in the comics plays a huge role. Like, I was surprised at how little she was in season 1. But I won't spoil it for you. But yeah, Atom Eve and Mark Grayson, they go a long way. Suzanne Troy says, Beef Foreigners, is that a show? Never heard of that one. HBO. Let's see. I'm going to type that in and see if I can have a look at that. Who was in that, Susanna, that show you're mentioning? Because I have never heard of it, and it's very rare that there's a show, especially an HBO one, that I haven't heard of. I don't watch every HBO show, but like, you know, what was that one Kate Winslet done, Mayor of Easttown? Didn't watch it, but I know about it. Let's see. Oh, it's Norwegian. It's a Norwegian show, or is this an American adaptation? Oh no, right. No, I recognise the picture when I see it on screen, but it's not one that I've sat down and watched. One show that I really want to cover, in fact, 2 shows that I'll talk about. One isn't, well, neither show's on anymore, is Dark on Netflix, that ran for 3 or 4 seasons. I think it's the best time travel show I've ever seen in my life. And another show that no one watched that ran for 2 seasons called Counterpart, that had J.K. Simmons, that's great actor in it, and it was all about the multiverse, but it was done in such an adult way. Dark is the best time travel show I think I've ever seen, and Counterpart is the best multiverse show that I've ever seen. So I'd love to cover them. And both of them are finished, so I suppose I can do that if I've got a bit of time. But I've went over the time that I said I was gonna. That's us just over the 2-hour mark, and it's a lot longer than I thought I was going to go on here. So it shows that I've been having fun, and the fact that you guys have stuck around means that you've probably had at least a bit of fun, or at the very least I've managed to distract you from whatever you were doing on a Sunday. So thanks for that. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for subscribing, thanks for leaving the likes, thanks for being in the chat. I really never thought in a million years I would get anywhere near the views that I'm getting on YouTube, and it's not like I'm a big YouTuber. I'm not. I'm well aware that I'm not a big YouTuber, and that's absolutely fine. But I appreciate anyone that takes the time to watch my videos and comment on it. And I'm going to do another Foundation stream at the same time next week as well, so keep an eye on the community tab for that. and I'll probably do the weekly entertainment show, the Geeking Week, on a Friday night. Or a Friday afternoon, depending on where you are, but it'll be a Friday night, Saturday morning if you're in the UK, and it would probably be like between like 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. if you're on the East Coast. I know Susanna is. But yeah, with the Geeking Week, I'm going to talk about stuff that isn't part of the videos that I talk about, so any topics that you want me to talk about in there, mention in the community tab when I put the announcement up, or jump into the live chat and tell me and I'll talk about them as well. But as always, guys, my name's Al, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.